Hey, you guys, good morning. It's me, Carlos Marmolejo, one of your classmates. I'm the guy that sits all the way in the corner, that ugly ass dude all the way up in the corner. Just waving. Well, this is Art Appreciation, Art 101, Professor Seed's class. I'm here to educate you guys about art, about my type of art, something that pertains to me. Professor Seed was sitting here telling us that we could pick anything that we like to talk about or whatever. And I chose tattooing. Tattooing has not only been a part of me for a while, it's been my life, it's what I do, it's my work. Mainly what I can only tell you, the history of it. As far as I can remember, back then, like in the days, the Polynesians, they were tattooing themselves. They were tattooing themselves for their culture, their pride, their community. They would wear it on their arms. As you could tell, some of our classmates, if you look around, they all have tattoos. I'm tatted up from head to toe. But back then, it wasn't mainstream like it is today. Back then, the tribes would tattoo each other to kind of like enforce life. They did it for their tribes, for their community. They told stories on their tattoos. Nowadays, you see that stuff everywhere. I mean, it's mainstream, it's on TV. You look up and down the street, everybody is tattooed today. They say that the statistics, every 2 out of 3 people are tattooed in the United States, and that's a big number. That's a big statistic. Back then, in the 1980s, 1960s and 70s, it was illegal. The only people that you would ever see tattooed were bikers, gang members, felons, just basically the bad people, just gangsters. Every time someone would have a tattoo, and back in those days, it was frowned upon. But nowadays, like I said, you see that stuff everywhere. People do it to be unique. People do it to tell a story or remember somebody. I mean, it's everywhere. You see it in magazines, TV, your brothers, your sisters, cousins, uncles. Everybody has a tattoo nowadays. As far as for me, the way I can tell you is the way that I started. Tattooing actually found me. I was always working dead-end jobs. It sucked pretty much. Always working day in, day out, having to check every 2 weeks. It was a bummer. A lot of people would always tell me, why am I not following my art? Why am I not doing art? That's what a lot of people would tell me. I started off at a young age. I started off at 2 years old, just drawing little Super Mario characters or whatever, and it led on. The older I got, the better I got with it. So like I said, tattooing actually found me. I was at work one day, and one of my leads, it was her birthday, and I didn't have any money to put in for the potluck. So I just grabbed a piece of paper and I started drawing, like, a couple bottles or whatever, and just putting little notes at the bottom. And she really liked it, so she took it home. She put it up in a frame. She put it up on her wall. And her brother had came over one day and asked where she got that picture from. So she told him that one of her friends from work had did that, which was me, and he was really impressed with my drawing. When I drew that drawing, it was in pen, and he couldn't believe that it was an actual drawing. He thought it was a photocopy. So once he looked at that picture and he really looked at the whole thing, he had to get my number, basically. He so happened to own a shop. So he got my number, and then we just talked, and we made it history. And I've been doing it ever since 2005. I was in the military, like I said, working dead-end jobs, and one day it found me, and I've been doing this every single day. You guys are going to be seeing a series of clips going on through this whole video, seeing some of the artwork. Alright, you guys, the history of tattooing. As far as I know, and from my research, it's been back since the dawn of time, since even way before Jesus. Egyptians used to do it. Out in Polynesia, they used to do it. New Zealand, a lot of tribes, a lot of cultural tribes, a lot of how can I say, Indians. A lot of them have always gotten tattoos to represent their way of life, their culture, and you see it a lot on a lot of people. They have tribals going all over their arms, their backs, their shoulders, all over their body. It represents life, culture, community, honor, and throughout the years, throughout time, tattoos kind of turned another way. Tattoos were being used to mark people, like in the medieval times, in the times of the Romans. They were using tattoos to basically, it was kind of used in a bad sense. They were branding people, like as far as their slaves to build the Colosseum, the pyramids, things like that. Sometimes it was for banishment. They would mark people on their faces, on their cheeks, on their arms, somewhere visible that you could see, to let people know that this person did not belong, or this person was someone's property. And it's been for years, and they've used a lot of tools. From the first tools that I've ever seen were 2 little bamboo sticks with thorns, pins, or needles from a rose plant or something. From back then, the tools that they used to use, it was like real minimal. It was 3 people to a tattoo, including the person getting tattooed, so it was 4 people. The way they made their tools back in the day, they would use little bamboo shoots. It would be like 2 little strands of bamboos, you know, wrapped up or whatever, and they used to use thorns, pins, or needles from plants. Those were their needles that they used to puncture the skin to get in, you know, to do the tattoo or whatever. The ink that they used back in the day was kind of weird, because they would use leaves. They would burn the leaves, and they would break them up into like a little, I don't know what it's called, but it's that little thing that grinds, you know, grinds everything into powder. That little stone thing or whatever. The thing doesn't come to my head right now. But they would mesh it up. They would mesh up all that powder, and they would add oil or water to it to get different consistencies of black inks. They had a hammer, and then they had the little jig that they used for the needle. The way that the name tattoo came out was from the noise of those 2 sticks hitting each other. Every time they would place the needles on top of the skin, they would hit, and you would hear tattoo, 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 tattoo. That's how the name came about, and it just stuck. And nowadays, I mean, it went from 2 little sticks and a couple other people stretching out the skin, and now technology is so advanced that they came up with this little thing right here. A lot of you guys know it as a tattoo gun, and I just gotta correct everybody. This is not a gun. It doesn't take bullets. This is a tattoo machine. It consists of coils, armature bars, contact points, everything. And now the work is so much easier than using 2 little sticks and thorns or pricks or whatever, and it's easier. But yeah, pretty much that's all it really is in a nutshell. Cut. Blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. There's every 2 cut plant or something. Cut it. Got a customer.
Hello.
Ready?
Back.
I'm putting that in the video.
Yes, a little bit more painless. Cut it right there.